Now for the track guide. Before starting, if you want to improve at a quicker pace, check out my sim racing course in the video description. Now going into the track guide itself, for turn 1 what I use as a reference for braking is this grass near number 1, right here. The reason why I'm not using number 1 is because it's further away from the apex. So if you will look all the way to the right side, then you have to switch your vision to the left. You will lose more time. It will make the corner inconsistent. So instead, I'm looking at this grass right here, which is exactly in front of number 1. But this makes the corner a bit easier. So with this reference in mind, I'm applying the brakes slightly before the grass, and I want to brake initially in a straight line. I don't want to reach my peak pressure while still having a bit of turning angle. So right now when I hit 82, which is my peak in this corner, my steering wheel is straight. If you will brake and turn, even if it's like 10 degrees of steering angle while reaching your peak pressure, you will brake less efficiently. Your car will stop in a longer distance, and overall generally you will take an earlier apex, which most of the time is not the right thing to do. So with this in mind, you will bleed the brakes as you turn more and more the steering wheel. It's something that you do in reverse. The more you turn, the more you release the braking. So now when you're getting through this corner, you want to cut as much as you can of this curb, because this will give you a such superior line into the next one. So cutting as much here is key, and the moment that the car lands, because this curve will slightly unsettle the car, but it's worth it. You will get slightly less grip obviously there, but cutting this distance, because this is such a short corner in between turn 1 and turn 2, you don't really need a superior exit. It's better if in terms of, you know, pushing the throttle early enough. Because having a better line, even though it's slightly slower, since this is a shorter distance, will make more sense, and overall for the whole sector it's gonna be quicker. So if you take one corner in isolation, it's not the right thing to do. You always have to look ahead and just adjust on what the next corner is gonna be like. So that's the reason why I'm doing this. Initially, instantly after I drop out of this curb, I'm applying the throttle like this. I aim to hit 100% throttle in between those two corners. In between turn 1 and turn 2, I aim to get to 100% throttle, because this is really making you have that superior minimum speed. You have a slight window of time here where you have to take advantage of it. So reaching 100%, then braking. It's better to go at 100% throttle and then drop it quickly, rather to hold the throttle around 60-70 and hold it for longer. Generally 0-100s are gonna work better than doing in between like 0-80 or 0-60, because when you go to 0-100, first of all you put a lot of grip on the rear tires, and then when you drop from 100 to 0, then you get that grip back to the front. So you push the energy from back to front, and you play with the balance of the car in such a way that it just helps getting more grip. So now when I'm braking for this corner, what I'm aiming to do is to cut this curb like this, like go over it. I found that it's almost half a tenth quicker if you cut it. Obviously the car will feel a bit more nervous, because now you will push a bit wider like this. And if you look in my hot lap at my hands, I had like a moment of oversteer right now, because the car really pushed wide. But this is like half a tenth to 1/10 quicker. If you're going for a hot quali lap, you really have to use and cut that curb as well. Be early on throttle, try to keep it 100. And now for this corner, first of all, notice the subtle difference. I'm not pushing the car on the left, because I will travel a longer distance if I keep it on the left. Instead, I'm apexing around here, and now I go diagonally almost towards the braking. Now I'm aligning the car at number 2, and close to number 1, at number 1 actually, I'm braking. I'm downshifting from 5th to 4th and then to 3rd, and I aim to cut this curb again as in turn 1, to put my right tire on this inside part of the curb, the one that's more flat, and then push the throttle confidently 0-100. What's important here is that you need to have your vision on this apex on the grass. like this part of grass right here, you have to cut it with your tire. If you cut it too much, you're gonna get an off track, but finding the limit is key, because look, I'm going on top of it like this, and obviously this is shortening my distance, because if I would not have cut it, then I would have hit the wall. So you would see a correction on throttle, but if you cut it, then your line will get slightly better. Now for the next corner, I'm looking at this ending of the wall, because at the ending of the white wall, I'm applying the brake. Again, I want to brake in a straight line, exactly as turn 1. I want to use this concrete on the right side of the white line, so there's a possibility to open up more. The more you open, the better is gonna be the next corner, but it comes with a slightly chance of, you know, hitting the wall, obviously, so there's a risk involved in doing this. And just so you know, I'm running the fixed setup with a 55.0 brake bias. I find this fixed setup to be really nervous on the rear tires, because I'm generally using 54 or 53.5 brake bias, but the car was so loose that I had to increase it. So if you find that you can't drive the car, you spin a lot, move the brake bias forward. By default, the fixed setup has the brake bias to 58%. But as you might know from my other videos, the lower you run the brake bias, generally the faster the lap times, because you get more rotation, you induce a bit of oversteer on entry in each corner, so there's an advantage of running lower brake bias. But if you spin, obviously it's not worth it, so have to find the right value. For this corner, once again the same team, cut the flat part of the curb like all the way to the grass, in second gear, pushing the throttle on the curb here, because this corner leads to a longer straight, and because of this it's important to go on throttle early. So I'm pushing the throttle now, upshifting to third around here, so I get the right amount of minimizing the wheel spin. And you can argue there's more lap time here because you can get closer to the wall, so keep this in mind. Now for the next corner, again, if you stay all the way to the left, you will travel a longer distance. So what I'm doing, I'm bringing the car to the right and I'm apexing around this part of the track, like right here, and now I'm bringing it back to the left side. At number 2, I'm perfectly aligned with the white line, and you can use this concrete on the left side of the white line to open up the corner slightly more. It's not really worth it to overemphasize it, because this will end here and you will turn a slightly bit later, so because of that you can't properly use it. But if you're fighting for a position and you are on the outside, you can gain a slight edge there, because you can just turn away earlier when you're battling and you have a slightly better run, so you can give him the corner and then instantly have a switchback, so you can have a good exit out of this corner. So there are a couple of things that you can do with that space, but for a hot lap maybe it's not really worth it. Just acknowledge it's there. Now this corner, you can gain or lose a lot of time here. That's because if you don't cut enough on the curbs, you will lose a lot of time. So what I'm aiming to do here while dropping the brakes is to get really close to this wide part of the curb, barely brush it. Don't cut too much on the first one, but cut a lot on the second one. This is my way to go. So right now I'm pushing the throttle, and you see you have to be early on throttle here. That's how you gain time. At this point in time, I'm already back on gas. You have to rotate early on entry. That's the only way you're gonna be able to do it. You have to induce oversteer from the brakes. The car has to be loose while you turn. This is very dangerous because you can spin the car easily in this corner, but if you practice it long enough, I found that after like 20 minutes I was able to do it consistently lap after lap. But this is probably one of the hardest corners of the track. This and the last corner, in my opinion, are the hardest corners because there's so much lap time to be gained if you're able to rotate early enough. Like rotating on an early entry, that's the way to go. On the opposite, this is the scariest thing to do, because rotating as you get closer to the corner, it's safer, you have less speed, but here you have to induce oversteer when you have a crazy amount of speed. So the rotation starts actually from this part right here. When you're not finished braking, you should just play with the brake release to get more and more. Now, taking this corner, this is the key. You want to bump on this white curb like this. It seems like the car can't handle it, and it seems that the curb is so tall that it's gonna break the car. But after you take it, like the moment that you land, the car is so stable. It's a bit bumpy, but it's so stable on the way out. And notice I'm kind of using all the track right here, but there's a lot of time. If you saw my delta, I gained a lot in this corner because I had a really good mid and exit part. Also purple sector right here. Now this corner, I didn't risk it enough. I saw a purple sector, I said, okay, let's just finish the lap. But what you can do here, you can brake slightly bit later. So I'm braking closely to number 2, slightly past number 2. Slightly more at the limit would be around here to start the braking. So it's almost middle of number 2 and number 1, but slightly closer to number 2. You will carry a bit more speed, because notice I'm losing time on the delta, and I probably gain it back right here. But there's more lap time to be found from the braking alone. As some tips for the braking, because this is a classic low speed, no elevation, straight line braking initially, hairpin, you want to reach 100% on the braking. So notice I wasn't using enough, 92, you can go to 100. And you just want to brake a slightly bit later. You want to apex close to this curb and cut it with your right tire like I'm doing now, and very early on throttle. At the middle of the curb you should be back on gas, using all the track. And now again you can travel a longer distance if you put the car on the left. So I think if you're not paying attention to these small details, on this track you can lose like 1/10 just for or maybe 1.2 tenths just for doing something that it's free lap time. Like right now, if you push the car to the left and you scrap speed and you stay on the left, you will travel a longer distance, and also you will scrap more speed. But if you stay on the right and the apex at this wall right here as this kink on the wall, and now bring the car diagonally towards the left side, then you will gain like 0.03, 0.04 on this straight. So it's free lap time. Make sure you're not traveling a longer distance. At number 2, I'm applying the braking. You want to release the brakes quite quickly here. So initially you hold the brakes, but then you have to release it more quickly because it's counterintuitive. But if you hold too much brake pressure, you can get less grip. Like generally trail braking is good, but with this car you don't have assist. You can lock your inside right tire. So if that happens, the car won't turn enough and you will just go straight, or even worse, you will try to push it and go into the wall. So make sure you're releasing well enough. When it's similar with the previous chicane that I said that it's very difficult. You don't want to cut a lot this one. I mean, you want to cut it, but not a lot, but you want to get closer to the second one like this. Ideally, the throttle should be 0-100, but this is so difficult to do. So you can leave a bit of margin here. If there's a corner where you want to leave a bit of margin, this is the one, because you don't want to crash here. And in short, that's the track guide. Hope you like it, hope you enjoy it. Check my course if you want to improve at a quicker pace, and check out these videos right here. Bye bye.